That's a heavy prime. Hello, what is up guys? I'm your host Gordon and welcome to another one of my video. What I got over here is a Monkee Mods Edition Colonel Wasp Shell Ejecting Foam Type Blaster Shotgun. Yes, it is the day I finally make a review of this blaster over here. Over the times I've been receiving a lot of message, especially after the Spaz 12 video, that many of you wanted me to check the Colonel Wasp Shotgun because it will change my view on these shell ejecting blasters. So yep, here we are. I received enough emails, messages and DMs and now we are doing it. Just like how I'm definitely going to do a Saturday shout out. I will have to thank Adrian, Arias and Climb Dot for always supporting the channel. Want a shout out? Leave a comment down below and I will be picking a couple of you guys for a Saturday shout out. And by the way guys, don't expect that you can get like a whole fully assembled piece out of the box. You will have to assemble it yourself. And what I'm going to do next is a step-by-step assembly guide. Let's go guys! In the box, we got the receiver, the barrel and the shell storing tube parts, the priming bar, a stronger spring, 8 shells, 10 darts, a bag of hardware, glue and silicone lubricant, a shell storing tube spring, and the priming grip. First, let us install the barrel and tube unit. We're gonna screw in the barrel, make sure to screw it in where the Picatinny rail is. Next, screw in the storing tube. To install the spring and shell pusher, we're gonna put on the rubber cap on the shell pusher. For some good reasons, I can't really push mine in, so in the end, I have to use a hobby knife to trim it down, a little bit something like this, and then push the rubber cap into the shell pusher. Align the spring with the shell pusher and fish it inside the shell storing tube. You might want to dip a little bit of glue on this included plastic piece and then friction fit it just like so. Make sure the iron side is facing the top. If you look at the receiver closely, the front part is not being screwed together, so that you can wedge and pry and slowly push in the entire front unit into the receiver. After doing so, grab the included hardware, more precisely the hex screw, and screw everything in place. For the front grip, align the other half on the shell storing tube and then cap on the other half just like so. After that, grab yourself a longer screw and screw it on 6 of these holes. After doing so, align the priming bar with the grip and the receiver, grab one of these screws and screw it in place. And this is how the blaster looks like with everything installed. But if you guys wanted to upgrade to a stronger spring, it will require you to open up the entire receiver. Before fully opening the shell, make sure that you put your hand in there and hold everything in place. Pull out the included spring and put in the stronger spring. At this point, we will want to grab ourselves the included lubrication and lubricate the O-rings. After that, we can push everything back into the cylinder. Make sure that the catch pin and the trigger return spring is not out of place. After aligning everything, make sure to hold everything with your hand and slowly lower down the shell. If everything is all good, you can basically screw everything back together except the previous front part. Slowly wedge in the entire front unit back to the receiver. After doing so, screw everything together including the front part of the shell. At this point, you might want to lubricate all the moving parts to ensure smooth operation. The blaster comes with these kind of smaller shells which is only compatible with half-length darts, and this is how you put the shells into the blaster. And finally, this is how the blaster looks like with everything installed. Okay, we are back guys. So as you can see, the silhouette of the blaster is definitely one really good looking Nerf shotgun. Of course, the scope is not included. I just somehow like to put on scopes on really high powered blasters. The one that I got over here is the orange version. Basically, it is the Monkee Mods Edition. Personally, I'm a really big fan of the color combination of this blaster over here. We got the blacks, we got the transparent orange, and a touch of aluminum orange at the barrel. With the add-on scope, this blaster is definitely one hell of an intimidating blaster. While holding the blaster in hand, it is actually satisfyingly heavy for a toy. Probably most of the weight is because of the scope, but without the scope, it still feels really nice on hand. The build quality of this blaster is extremely solid. It doesn't really have a lot of those plastic squeaking noise, which is a good thing. The entire receiver of the blaster is made out of some really thick translucent orange plastic over here. The barrel as well as the shell loading tube is made out of some really thick aluminum, and that alloy orange though is really sweet. On the other hand, the priming bar of this blaster is made out of some really thick metal. Definitely looks like some sort of a stainless steel. The cylinder is of course aluminum. To those who are getting this blaster, you will have to assemble the entire blaster yourself. Well, okay, not really the entire blaster. My version actually comes with a pre-assembled receiver over here with a weaker stock spring installed. But since the kit included a way stronger spring, if you guys decided to swap off the spring, basically you will have to disassemble disassemble the whole thing and put in the stronger spring. So practically, you will have to install the whole thing again. After installing the entire blaster, the blaster does not really come with the buttstock over here. If you have any Nerf compatible buttstock, you can basically put it on this blaster, just like this one. After installing the upgraded spring, the priming of the blaster is actually pretty tough, so I'm expecting a really good FPS number out of this. The experience of putting the entire blaster together is actually pretty straightforward. Basically, I don't see that it is a problem for most of you guys, especially those who are used to blaster modding, but for beginners though, it might be a little intimidating. There are some little parts might need a little bit of adjustment. For example, my unit, the rubber cap that's being used to cover the dart pusher thing, need a little bit of trimming down. But so far, other than that, everything seems to be smooth sailing. Unlike most of the shotgun blaster that I've reviewed on this channel, this blaster actually comes in with a thinner profile. The grip is thin, the receiver is thin, but I personally kind of like the thinner profile of this blaster over here. The grip of the blaster is comfortable, it's definitely one of those AR style grip. The Picatinny situation of this blaster, pretty straightforward. There is just a single roll of Picatinny rail on top of the blaster. The trigger pull of this blaster is pretty snappy, however, it requires a bit of force to pull. The palm grip of this blaster is actually pretty comfortable to hold, but in the same time, it is kind of slippery as well, especially after installing the stronger spring. But if you have gloves, I don't think that's a problem. But no worries about that, there is actually a lot of 3D printed grip over here which you can actually swap out. So lots of configuration potential with this blaster over here. One thing that I actually really like about this blaster is that it didn't really comes with a trigger locking mechanism when the blaster is primed, which means that you can basically apply some force while holding this grip firmly, pull the trigger, and slowly release the prime just like so that you don't have to dry fire in order to release the catch, or stucking your finger in front of the barrel and pull the trigger. The maximum loading capacity of this blaster is actually 6 darts, 5 in the shell storing tube, and 1 being chamber on the bridge. Overall, the shell ejecting mechanism works pretty smoothly. Yeah! The blaster comes with these kind of shells, which definitely not the same kind of shells that came with the UDL M1887 or the XM1014. This is basically its proprietary shell, and it only supports half-length darts. One thing that I realized with this blaster though is that the shell loading is actually pretty comfortable. Seriously guys, it is actually surprisingly smooth. And one good thing about this blaster is that whenever there's like a parts failure or something like that, any parts, you can actually get all of these parts from Monkee Mods. So I guess that's all of the quirks and features of this blaster. This is a relatively straightforward blaster, just that the installation part is a little bit intimidating for beginners. So I guess without further ado, let us go test the blaster out. Okay, we are back, guys. So the performance of the blaster is absolutely amazing after upgrading the spring. With the included stock spring, I would say it is a not bad number. With the stock springs, the blaster can shoot from 87 FPS all the way to 103 FPS. And the maximum firing range is around 7 to 8 meters, and the accuracy is not bad as well. And after upgrading the spring, the blaster can shoot from 203 FPS all the way to 217 FPS. Holy moly, this is probably the first blaster in this channel that surpassed 200 FPS. OMG, holy moly. And seriously guys, the maximum shooting range of this blaster can definitely exceed 10 meters, but definitely there is a limit on my shooting range. But in 10 meters, hitting a target is absolutely not an issue at all. And so far, operating this blaster, I did not encounter any jams at all. The shell ejecting just works perfectly fine. The shell loading works super smoothly. And does this blaster pass the wall test? Obviously, with this kind of color combination and accessories, this blaster 100% passes the wall test. And soon enough, guys, soon enough, I will have a proper wall test setup with like, blaster pegboards and all those kind of stuff. So far, I'm having a lot of fun with this blaster, just that I might need to get a lot of these extra shells if I wanted to get into a game or something like that. And surprisingly enough, it is a actually pretty simple blaster to review. So yep guys, if you like this video, feel free to smash the like button. I will be posting videos every Saturday and sometimes on Wednesday, so do remember to click on the subscribe button and the notification bell. And yep, go and check it out, and I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Adios guys!